EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Blocking President Biden. Reaction after a key Democrat says he will not support Build Back Better. Deadly typhoon. New developments as the death count continues to rise in the Philippines. Happy birthday. How the Holy Father celebrated turning 85 years old. And window to the galaxies. Learn more about the launch of a new space telescope on EWTN News Nightly for Monday, December 20th, 2021. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is vowing to hold a vote early next year on the $2 trillion Build Back Better Act. It comes as West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin said that he will not support President Biden's signature legislation. His announcement may be a fatal blow to the president's economic agenda.
And I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there.
You're done. This is a no.
This is a no on this legislation.
In a statement, the White House charged Senator Manchin with betraying the president and Congress with his remarks, writing, quote, "They represent a sudden and inexplicable reversal in his position and a breach of his commitments to the president and the senator's colleagues in the House and Senate." Senator Joe Manchin's vote is critical to passing the Build Back Better Act in an equally divided chamber. Harsh reaction quickly came from other Senate Democrats.
Mr. Manchin doesn't want to support us. Well, look, we've been dealing with Mr. Manchin for month after month after month. But if he doesn't have the courage to do the right thing for the working families of West Virginia and America, let him vote no in front of the whole world.
In a separate statement, Senator Manchin said that he is open to working with the White House and top Democrats on a so-called scaled-down version of the Build Back Better Act. Lawmakers return to Capitol Hill in January. And join me now is Amber Athey, Washington editor at The Spectator. Amber, welcome back. Always so good to see you. As you know, Senator Manchin essentially killed the Build Back Better bill. I want to get your thoughts on that. And are you at all surprised?
It is not surprising. What I'm surprised by are all of his colleagues in the Democratic Party acting like they're surprised. Joe Manchin made quite clear from the beginning what he was looking for in this bill. He actually laid out a list that he reportedly gave to the White House and to Joe Biden of the priorities that he was looking for, as well as a much lower price tag after the CBO score. And what was most important is that this bill contains many energy industry killing policies, and that is of utmost importance for Joe Manchin's constituents in West Virginia. So it is pretty crazy that Bernie Sanders would say that Joe Manchin is not looking out for working families. That is precisely what he is doing with his vote.
Yeah, and at a press briefing this afternoon, Jen Psaki said the objective is to get this legislation passed. That said, Amber, do you think that is possible? I mean, can a compromise be reached after all that we've seen so far?
It's going to be increasingly difficult now that all of these Democratic senators, as well as colleagues in the House, have come out bashing Joe Manchin and acting like he is not looking out for his constituents. They've tried to say that he's betraying them, that he's a traitor. Those types of words said publicly are only going to make him dig in further to his position and make him less likely to move further to the progressive left from the center where he's at right now. So this is a real breakdown in negotiations and are only going to make things more difficult for the Biden administration if they try to do a smaller scale bill in the future.
Yeah, I guess we will see what happens there. I want to switch gears just a little bit here. It seems that the White House COVID response team has made their messaging even more aggressive, telling the unvaccinated, quote, "You're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm." Your thoughts on this strategy as President Biden is expected to speak tomorrow about the pandemic?
Well, I think it's very unlikely that that type of aggressive and condescending attitude is going to convince anyone who's unvaccinated to get vaccinated. We've been saying since the beginning on the right that the best way to get people vaccinated, if they need to be, is to treat them with compassion and try to understand their concerns. And the White House has repeatedly done the opposite, threatening people's jobs and livelihoods if they refuse to get the vaccine. I think it would go a much further way if they were to recognize that there are plenty of people out there who are young and healthy who maybe don't need to get vaccinated or need to get a booster shot, particularly when that applies to young children who are at very low risk of severe side effects from the virus, and focus on getting older populations and populations that might have comorbidities vaccinated. Instead, they've taken this across-the-board, one-size-fits-all approach, and they've gotten increasingly more aggressive towards those people who haven't gotten vaccinated yet and tried to blame the entire pandemic on them, even though we know that vaccinated people are still almost just as likely to get and spread the virus. It really is an unfortunate way of them trying to lessen the severity of this pandemic, and it's very anti-science as well.
And Amber, what are you expecting to hear from President Biden tomorrow when it comes to the pandemic and this new variant?
Well, if he goes by what the tone of that statement was, he's going to be even more forceful than he has been in the past against unvaccinated Americans. And another piece of this is that the White House doesn't recognize that there are many reasons why someone might choose not to be vaccinated. Unfortunately, a lot of these vaccine mandates have not allowed people to claim religious exemptions or medical exemptions, and is basically trying to force everyone, regardless of what other reasons they might have for not getting the vaccine, to get vaccinated. And I think not taking those people into account only makes his message that much weaker.
Another thing I want to talk to you about is your latest article that you wrote for the Spectator. In it, you say that the NFL is the latest American sports league to cave to Chinese interests. Talk to us more about that, and also the marketing agreement that labeled Taiwan as part of China. What more can you tell us about that?
That's right. The National Football League just released its international market agreements, which means they are going to start broadcasting games and selling merchandise in countries abroad across the globe. And they released a map that showed the various areas in which teams those viewers would be able to access. And in doing so, they included Taiwan as part of China. And of course, Taiwan considers itself an independent region separate from the CCP and not governed by them. China would very much like to take ownership over Taiwan. And that's currently a huge fight in international relations. And the NFL has wholeheartedly taken China's stance on that. And they're not the only league that has done this. The NBA, of course, refuses to allow fans to bring in anti-CCP signs to their games because China is a huge market for its international viewership as well. And the MLB has partnerships with China as well. And it's very unfortunate because these leagues talk about wokeness and social justice policies here at home, but they are actively enabling a regime that commits numerous human rights abuses, as well as is a huge geopolitical foe to the United States and a national security threat.
Well, Amber, unfortunately, we have to leave it right there. So much more we can talk about, but appreciate your time and analysis. And if we don't talk to you before Christmas, Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Bishop Thomas Pabrocki of Springfield, Illinois, is decrying the repeal of the state's Parental Notice of Abortion Act, saying the bill violates the most fundamental rights and duties entrusted by God to parents. The Democratic-led repeal was signed on Friday. In Chile, it's a generational change in government as Gabriel Boric is elected president. Boric won more than 55% of the vote in yesterday's election. He becomes Chile's youngest president-elect at the age of 35. He promotes a leftist millennial agenda to address poverty and climate change. His new government will be closely watched as Chile often starts regional trends. In Sudan, thousands of Sudanese have protested for a restoration of democracy after last October's military coup. One person was killed in the demonstrations yesterday. More than 100 others were injured. The protests mark the third anniversary of the uprising that overthrew overthrew Omar al-Bashir and his government in April of 2019. Authorities had imposed security ahead of the demonstrations. A destructive typhoon with Category 5 strength struck the Philippines this weekend, leaving more than 370 people dead, 50 missing, and thousands displaced. Winds exceeded 160 miles per hour, making the storm the strongest to hit the country this year. The National Office of Civil Defense estimates that 75% of the homes in the storm's wake are damaged. Even as the typhoon raged, one Catholic priest remarkably kept prayer alive. In song and prayer, Father Jose Cecil Labrigas was joined by a small congregation. He said they did not stop celebrating Mass, even though only a few people attended, adding the church is committed to always praying for you. Coming up, true Christmas spirit. Pope Francis gives the faithful a foolproof way to feel better for the holidays. And the faith in Europe. Catholic leaders assess the state of the church in the continent.
When a mysterious star appears in the night sky, a poor boy and his widowed mother are called to welcome 3 wise kings into their home for the night. Together with local shepherds, they warm the evening with songs of joy as they learn about the birth of a newborn king in a miraculous musical spectacle that revisits the night of the very first Christmas. Amal and the Night Visitors, here on the Global Catholic Network, EWTN.
This Christmas Eve, EWTN welcomes the light of the world with liturgical celebrations. At 1:30 p.m. Eastern, the Solemn Mass of Christmas Eve in Rome, Midnight Mass with Pope Francis. Then at 10 p.m. Eastern, EWTN takes you to Washington, D.C. for choral meditations on the Nativity, followed at 10:30 p.m. by the Solemn Mass of Christmas Eve.
Smart speakers help with a lot these days. Did you know you can use your smart speaker to hear the top stories of the day from a Catholic perspective?
On Google Home, all you have to do is walk up to your speaker and say, "Hey Google, play Catholic News."
Here's the latest news.
Welcome to your daily Catholic news briefing.
If you have an Alexa, it's pretty much the same. Just say, "Alexa, open Catholic News."
Welcome back to the latest news from Catholic News Agency.
For more information on how to get the latest Catholic news on your smart speaker or wherever you get your podcasts, go to catholicnewsagency.com/smart speakers.
Pope Francis is denouncing domestic violence as, quote, nearly satanic.
Può difendersi, soltanto fermare I colpi, no?
Speaking with a mother of 4 children who had recently fled her home, the Pope acknowledged the scourge of domestic violence. He affirmed her dignity as a survivor and encouraged inspiration from the Blessed Mother's own sufferings. Pope Francis reminds the faithful that the true Christmas spirit can usually be found by helping others.
Dopo l'annuncio dell'angelo per la Vergine si profilava un periodo difficile.
At a Sunday address to pilgrims at the Vatican, the Holy Father says the quickest way to get out of a bad mood or depression is to reach out to those around us, because when we reach out to others and help them, God always lifts us up as well. And in a more festive spirit, Pope Francis celebrated his birthday this weekend with a party and a lot of children. To the strains of Happy Birthday, the Holy Father enjoyed a belated celebration yesterday together with children in the Pope Paul VI Hall. Pope thanked them for the party and made sure that all enjoyed some birthday cake. The Holy Father turned 85 years old on Friday. Our Catholic leaders in Europe are set to meet in the spring to discuss the strength of the church in the continent. The third European Catholic Social Days will take place in Slovakia next March. Bishops from across Europe will discuss how to move forward following the coronavirus pandemic. One says that it is a chance to show, quote, Catholics are alive in Europe. Joining us now is Father Martin Kramara, spokesman for the Slovak Bishops Conference. Father, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Can you talk to us about the church in Europe and why this meeting in March is so important?
Well, there have already been 2 meetings of this kind in the past, in Gdańsk in Poland and then also in Spain. And so we are happy that we could be having this meeting now in Slovakia in 2022 in March. God willing, we are organizing it in Bratislava. It's Catholic European Social Days. So there is already some tradition to it, and we would like to go forward on this tradition, talking about important matters that concern our society and about a Catholic voice, a Catholic contribution, what we as faithful can do to live better in the society.
And Father, can you talk to us about the state of the church in Slovakia, and also how has the pandemic impacted the church there? Will churches be open and celebrating Mass this Christmas?
Well, yes, we are open. At the moment, I'm actually sitting in the sacristy of my church. I'm the rector of the Church of the Holy Trinity in Bratislava, and I have finished the Mass a few minutes ago. I celebrate Mass here every day for my faithful. There are some restrictions as to the numbers and as to some rules that we have to follow. We have to wear masks and keep distances, and also there is at the moment the rule that we have to be vaccinated, or people that have overcome, went through the COVID in the last 180 days can attend the Mass. Well, there are restrictions, but we can celebrate, and we will celebrate every day and also in Christmas. So I'm going to have 3 Masses here in my church for Christmas.
That is so wonderful to hear. As you, of course, know, Pope Francis visited Slovakia in September. Can you talk to us about the legacy of that apostolic journey?
So it was a wonderful visit. We were very happy to have the Holy Father with us these days. In September 2021, he visited western and eastern part of Slovakia. He also visited the Byzantine Rite, a Greek Catholic church. We had wonderful celebrations, and people were very happy to see him and to be with him, to listen to him. Now we are trying to produce also to publish the speeches of the Holy Father and to talk it over, to make it remember to the people and to gain fruits from it. And I think it was very wonderful because we had great chances also to establish new relationships with various people from all spheres of the society. It gave us beautiful new impulses. It was a strengthening of our faith. It really worked this way, and I think the fruits are still coming, and we're very happy we had him.
And Father, before I let you go, as we look to end 2021, looking forward to 2022, I'm wondering, what is your hope for the church in Slovakia?
Well, my hope for the church in Slovakia is that we are able to give better witness to the living word, to our Lord Jesus Christ, to the light that is coming. We are going to celebrate, in conditions that are not perfect, also marked by the pandemic. And it is, in a certain way, a test, and it is, in a certain way, a suffering. But I think that God can always give us something much greater than we can imagine from our suffering if we take it in our faith, and if we are able to give good testimony in front of the world to our faith. So I'm very much hoping for this, to be able to announce better the gospel and to give even better, more courageful, or how to say it, I'm not perfect in English, sorry about that, a testimony of greater courage about Christ and about his gospel in the new year.
Oh, Father, that was very inspiring. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for all that you do for the church. Father Martin Kramara, spokesman of the Slovak Bishops Conference. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you for having me, and Merry Christmas to you.
stargazing. A new telescope is ready for launch.
Behold, the timeless verse of the Christmas season. Sacred song that celebrates the light of the world. From the choir of the Eternal Word Television Network and Father Joseph Mary Wolfe, the EWTN Family Christmas Special. This Christmas on EWTN.
This Christmas, Dr. Ray Guarendi has just what you need to get the holiday right on a special edition of Living Right with Dr. Ray. Join Dr. Ray under the Christmas tree as he welcomes a very special guest.
In case you don't recognize this gentleman, this is St. Nicholas.
So every day of the year is a day to rejoice and praise God for the babe born in Bethlehem.
Ring in the true traditions of the season with Living Right with Dr. Ray celebrates Christmas on the Global Catholic Network, EWTN.
We're back with some more nativity scenes that we would like to share with all of you. Last week, we showed you a dog and a picture with a creche. Well, here's Mr. Bill the cat looking on at Carl Speck's nativity scene. We love that. Thank you, Carl, for sending that. Thank you, Mr. Bill, for being in the picture. All right, on to Lake Worth, Florida now, and the Fazio family's nativity scene. They say that their grandmother brought the statues from Italy when she came to the U.S. in 1918. Isn't that special? That's wonderful. Jean Richardson in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. Well, she sends us this one. Merry Christmas to you. We love it. It's beautiful. And finally, this one is from Deb Brown. This scene is displayed in her yard. It is gorgeous. She also says that she has a Letters to Jesus Christmas mailbox, and she prays over all of the letters, and she is reminding us to keep Christ in Christmas because Jesus is the reason for the season. Indeed, yes, he is. And to share yours, send a picture to EWTN News Nightly at EWTN.com or to our Facebook and Twitter accounts. And make sure you include your name and location, and you could see it featured right here on EWTN News Nightly. Well, finally tonight, NASA is moving ahead with plans to launch its newest telescope into space this week. The James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST, will attempt to blast off on Christmas Eve from French Guiana in South America. The $10 billion telescope is considered the successor to the Hubble Space Telescope and is a joint effort between NASA and the European and Canadian space agencies. Bill Ochs is the project manager for JWST, and he joins us now from French Guiana. Bill, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. As a lot of people know, a Catholic priest is credited with forming the theory now known as the Big Bang, and now the Webb telescope could help find some pieces to that puzzle, which is really exciting. What is the JWST? What is it going to show us?
So Webb is actually, it's an infrared telescope. And by an infrared telescope, we look at heat. We don't look at the visible light that you and I see. As light travels through the universe, the wavelengths shift and they elongate, and that's what shifts it into that infrared spectrum. So an infrared spectrum, that gives us insight into a lot of different things. And when we combine that with the size of our telescope, we're going to be able to see back to about 200 million years after the Big Bang. And this is at the exact moment that we have the creation of the first stars and galaxies in our universe. So we're going to be able to look back, and that kind of breaks down into a lot of different things. You can look at protoplanetary systems, which is the formation of planets around new stars, the assembly of galaxies, and so forth, as well as exoplanets, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. For those of us that really may not know, can you tell us what makes the difference between the JWST from the Hubble, and then also what happens to Hubble?
So I'll address the first part. Hubble will keep operating. We're actually looking forward to doing some joint observations with Hubble. So long as Hubble keeps hanging in there, we'll be doing some joint operations with that. As far as the differences go, I mentioned the infrared. So Hubble's a visible ultraviolet telescope. We are an infrared telescope. The other main difference is the size. We're about our primary mirror is about almost 7 times the size of Hubble's mirror, but it's about 7 times the size of Hubble's mirror. So that gives us, when you combine that with the advancements in our instrument detectors, we're about 100 times more sensitive or powerful than Hubble. That's going to make a huge difference in what we can see. And when you combine that with the infrared aspects of JWST, it's going to be amazing the type of things that we'll be able to look at and study.
That really is incredible, really hard to believe. We have all this technology. And I understand the telescope in this week's launch is really years in the making. Can you tell us more about that, the telescope and the journey that it made to French Guiana? And also, why was French Guiana chosen?
Okay, so years in the making, we're about 20 plus years in the making. That is not unusual for a mission of this size. Hubble was kind of the same way. Over that time, we had about 10,000 people work on the JWST project. So it's really, this is the accumulation of for some folks, their entire careers with the launch that we have coming up at the end of this week. The journey that we took to get well, let's talk about why we're in French Guiana. JWST is an international mission. Part of the European contribution is the rocket. They've also contributed 2 instruments, as well as Canada contributed an instrument. But the rocket is from Europe, and their launch site is in French Guiana in South America. To get here, our final assembly of our observatory was at Northrop Grumman's plant out in Redondo Beach in California. When we are too big to fit inside, let's say, a C5. So we couldn't really fly down, and if we did fly down, from where the airstrip was to the launch site, there were 7 bridges that would not withstand the weight of JWST, as well as all the associated hardware and shipping container and so forth with it. So that drove us to a more unique type of way to ship to a launch site. So we left on a boat out of Navy SEAL Beach Weapons Station down just south of Long Beach out in California. Went down along the coast of Central America, went through the Panama Canal, then around the northern coast of South America until we got to French Guiana. And that journey took about 16 days.
Oh, that is amazing. And Bill, for those who would like to follow along with the progress, how can they do so? And where can we watch the launch?
You can always go to almost any website. JWST has their own website. Just Google JWST, Google JWST launch. But if you go to NASA TV, you'll be able to watch the launch and the commentary from there. Right now, we are slated to launch at 7:20 Eastern Time. The broadcast, from what I understand, will start about an hour and 20 minutes with commentary prior to that. And then there'll be periodic press releases and so forth throughout the first 6 months of on orbit is our commissioning period, and we'll have periodic press releases during that time frame, as well as videos and so forth.
Well, Bill, this is all very exciting. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us about this. We really appreciate it. Bill Ochs, Project Manager for the James Webb Space Telescope. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
And we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.
This Christmas Day, EWTN welcomes the light of the world with liturgical celebrations. At 1 a.m. Eastern, the solemn Mass of Christmas and Office of Readings from the Holy Land. At 6 a.m. Eastern, Pope Francis gives his message and blessing, Urbi et Orbi. Then, at 8 a.m. Eastern, the solemn Mass of Christmas from EWTN. And at noon Eastern, the solemn Mass of Christmas Day from Washington, D.C.
We're very blessed that we can now share this music with the wider public. The opportunity to record Christmas matins is one of those really special moments. It's a glimpse into the Christmas matins that precedes Midnight Mass. This music brings people closer to the mystery, the great mystery of Christmas.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
The vast white beauty of the season of winter reaches gracefully toward the sleeping mountains, and there, in the beauty of its flowing crystal sculptures, we miss seeing the simple presence of color. Even our warm, wild creatures know it's not easy finding green under a blanket of snow, but it's nice to have a friend to help you look. It is in this season of winter that we celebrate the Bethlehem birth of the child Jesus. Bishop Sheen says, "It was a breakthrough in time that changed our world, for we found a belief that is the love of the truth."
Unbelief is dread of the truth about ourselves. That's unbelief. Faith is a willingness to face the truth about ourselves. And when we do, well, once that original dread is overcome and we admit the breakthrough, then we're changed. And then our mind is illumined, our will is strengthened, we have a great joy and happiness.
She's lovely, isn't she? Beautiful. Hi there. I'm Cameron Mitchell, and I want to wish happy holidays to all of you. Christmas is our time of love and goodwill, a moment in the portrait of history when a bright silver star high in the night sky gave off a close and holy light, and the world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Christmas is also a time of giving, and we've wrapped up a special present just for you, filled with hugs, kisses, joy, hope, and sunshine. It's a Christmas gift of love from a friend of yours, Fulton J. Sheen. He calls it Superman and Christmas, a unique comparison